Welcome to the podcast. It's the magical holidays. Time for Joe watching 60 Christmas movies in 60 days. Why, you might ask? Because it sounds like a crazy task to be watching 60 Christmas movies in 60 days. It'll be struggle, no I won't lie. By the halfway point I will lose my mind, but with your support I'm gonna be fine. So let's have a blast on this Christmas time. Join me now and let's find out about today's Christmas movie. Was it good or bad? Happy or sad? Is there another dead mom and dad? Let's get to it with no delay. It's your old pal Joe and he's happy to say welcome to Joe watches 60 Christmas movies in 60 days.
How is it going, everybody? It's me, it's your old pal Joe, and welcome to episode 33 of Joe Watches 60 Christmas Movies in 60 Days. I am out here on the very chilly podcast patio to record this episode just for you. I am about 4 or 5 days behind on recording, but I am pretty well kept up on movies. So we're going to do a multiple recording day. Not that this will matter to you. Not that this will ever change your life. But I'm just giving you some context for me here. Before we dive into today's movie, let's talk about my good friends over at Third Eye Comics. I've mentioned them 32 times so far, and they're going to get mentioned another 28 times to come. They did me a big favor. They helped me out. They sponsored the podcast so that this podcast could even be created for a fourth season or a third. This is the fourth season. Yeah, it's cold out, guys. It's cold. Anyway, Third Eye Comics, they did me a big solid, and it helps that they're such a wonderful store. So if you have any interest in buying anything from the comics, gaming, music, or movie world, please check them out at shop.thirdeyecomics.com. They will almost certainly have what you're looking for, or have something that, that'll be the new thing you want. And it's coming up on Christmas. The whole reason for this podcast. Maybe buy a gift for someone there. That would be nice of you. Anyway, let's talk about today's movie. I'm cold. Today's movie is The Great Turkey Town Miracle. I chose this because this episode was originally intended to come out on Thanksgiving. And if you're wondering, it did not come out on Thanksgiving. Because we're about a week and a couple days, I should say, after Thanksgiving. And there's loud cars all around me. And it's really annoying. Anyway, yeah, so this is a Thanksgiving-themed movie. So I thought it would be fun to throw in a Thanksgiving-themed movie amongst the Christmas fair. There isn't really a lot of Thanksgiving-themed Christmas movies. There's a lot of Christmas movies that feature Thanksgiving. You get the point, though. I chose this movie because of Thanksgiving. What I did not know going in is that this was I would say a highly religious movie. I did not realize that going in. But it is based on a true story. So, hey, if it's based on a true story, it can only get so metaphysical, if you will, supernatural, if you will. So let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens in The Great Turkey Town Miracle. We open on a small town with small town people and small town businesses, like the small town radio station we listen to where the DJ talks about how he's surprised about how close Thanksgiving is. His show is called The Morning Mouth, and it's hosted by our main character, Conor McCloud. He thinks it's going to be the best Thanksgiving yet. He closes his show by reminding all of his listeners to praise God and pass the ammunition. Also, Conor McCloud sounds a lot like the name of the main character in Highlander. It may be the same name. I'm not going to check it. Anyway, immediately after he ends his show, Conor ends his show, a guy comes in to tell him that the boss needs to see him. We cut immediately to the boss telling him the station's been sold. It's going to be taken over by syndicated radio content from elsewhere. And that was Conor's last radio show. Conor is heartbroken. We watch him pack up his belongings. He says, "Talk about dead air," and leaves the office. Cut to him driving. He calls a pal to see how he's doing. They decide to meet up for a walk in the park. He also sees a homeless man outside and gives him a few dollars. The guy replies, "God bless you." And Conor replies, "I hope so." Over at the park with his buddy, Conor meets up with him. I don't remember his name. Anyway, he meets up with him. They talk about Conor losing his job. His friend offers him some condolences. Conor asks how his friend is doing. We find out he went in for a regular post-cancer checkup and then it kind of trails off. We don't hear an official word, but it does not look good for Conor's buddy. Cut to Conor getting gas. He has to fight to get the attendant's attention. It's one of those things where he's talking to the young person behind the counter. And he's like, excuse me. And the person is just, they're diving into their phones. They're distracted. And it's just so he can go like, young people. But he doesn't literally do that, but that's what the movie wants us to do. Young people. We then cut to Conor at home looking for work when his daughter gets home from school. Her name is Jamie. She has great news. She got the job as the stage manager. He has 2 daughters, but I don't know the other daughter's name. It won't come up much. Anyway, this is Jamie, and she has great news. She got the job as the stage manager in the school's upcoming play. He's very proud of his daughter. He also breaks the news to her about his job loss. She asks if this means that they'll need to move again. He assures her they won't. And then, as he's looking at his daughter, we get a flashback for Conor. This is one of a few flashbacks in this movie that takes us to a time, to put it bluntly, before he lost his wife. In this flashback, he's talking to his wife about what the doctor told him. She is very scared. But mostly she's scared for the girls. She's scared for Conor having to raise the girls alone. She just needs Conor to promise that he'll take care of them. He promises. Back to the present day, Conor is determined to get a new job. We watch him go into door after door, interview after interview, trying to get a job. It's a montage played for laughs. It's fine. Eventually, he comes across an Ace Hardware that is looking for work. I wonder if that is product placement, because it's the only business that he goes into that's a real business, or at least one that I recognize. Eventually, we see him being a DJ at a wedding where he does a very bad job because he's distracted and just not paying attention. But he also complains about the food there, not to the couple, but just to like the photographer buddy who's also working the job. Finds out that there's no meat because the couple getting married are vegans. They also make fun of the dessert because, kids these days with their vegan diets and their non-dairy based desserts. The photographer asks how the job search is going. Conor updates her on his series of interviews. She asks, "You're a Christian, right?" He is. Well, it turns out a guy at her church helps run a program for homeless people, and he's hiring. Conor says he'll check it out. While he's driving home, he gets a call from his buddy's wife. We see him rush to the hospital. He finds his friend's cancer has returned, and it's not looking good. The friend says he's not scared. He knows where he's going. Over to the school, we see Conor's daughter Jamie preparing for her first day as stage manager. She's very nervous. Then we see Conor arrive at the church, and the homeless guy he gave money to earlier is also there. He directs him to the office where he can apply for the job. He says to go around back. So he goes around back and goes inside where he finds a Christmas party going on. He picks up an ornament off of a tree that's nearby to study it. The woman there tells him to go around the front to apply for the job. He apologizes and asks if it isn't a little too early for a Christmas party, considering it's not even Thanksgiving yet. Or maybe it is Thanksgiving? I don't know. Thanksgiving. No, it isn't Thanksgiving, because that's what this movie's building up to. And so, yeah, I guess it is a little early for a Christmas party if you're about 2 or 3 weeks away from Thanksgiving. Anyway, the woman says it's never too early for a Christmas party. Conor nods and leaves the Christmas party. Then he heads back in because he realizes he still has the ornament in his hand, but when he walks inside, the Christmas party isn't there. There's no Christmas party, and there's nobody around. He puts the ornament in his pocket. Eventually, he finds the right door to the office, and we join his interview in progress. He meets with this person and that person. Eventually, he meets a woman named Connie. And then I thought, why would they have she's going to become his love interest. She's a co-worker. Spoiler, he gets this job. And spoiler, he works with Connie. And triple spoiler, they get into a relationship by the end of the movie. But what I'm mentioning here is, why is there a character named Conor and a character named Connie in the same movie? You could call her Deborah, or you could call him anything. You could call him Bouillabaisse. You could call either one of them anything, but why would you have both of them have such similar names? Anyway, Connie shows Conor around. Just then another guy comes in the boss's office and says they shouldn't hire that guy. This is Philip. He's a jerk. He's a jerk by nature. He's a jerk. And he wants the job that Conor is applying for. He says Conor's a washed up DJ. The boss says the job is open to all people, even him, Philip, since he interviewed. The guy complains that this is Philip. He complains that he wants the job and he wants more responsibility. He's just the male supervisor. The boss tells him to be patient. He won't listen and keeps complaining. Eventually he leaves and says he'll be praying that they make the right decision, which is a wild passive-aggressive stance to take. Oh, you might pick Conor instead of me? Well, I'm going to go home and I'm going to reach out to the God that we share. And I'm going to pray that you make the right decision. And all the implications that come with that. Meaning me, not Conor, the washed-up DJ. Back to Conor on his tour with Connie. They go to the lunchroom where we see a good number of people eating lunch. Then they see the sleeping quarters where people stay. Conor is overwhelmed with how many people need help. Back at home, he chats with his daughter about when he gets a phone call. He got the job at the homeless shelter. His daughter is so happy for him. He's less happy, though. We now join a staff meeting where everyone is introduced to Conor. Everyone claps. The big boss in the meeting talks about how they're having a rough year of donations. He's worried that they won't meet their quotas. They need $100,000 to run the kitchen, $50,000 to keep the shelter open through the holidays, and around 4,000 turkeys for Thanksgiving. It turns out that's Conor's job. Philip the Jerk smirks when he sees Conor react to his major task. Then everyone in the meeting prays. Cut to the team showing Conor the truck he has to fill. He needs 4,000 turkeys in 4 weeks. Conor says they'll need a miracle. Later that day, we see Conor in bed reading. His daughter comes in and talks about how she's been thinking about her mom. She says it's becoming harder to remember her. He tells his daughter some stories about her mom. The daughter says she knows her dad should move on, get another wife. But she and her sister, because there are 2 kids despite my memory, she and her sister will never have another mom. Conor hugs his kid. Now over to Conor's friend talking to his wife. He says the doctor says he only has a year or so. She's so sad. He gives her a big hug. I'm not sure why we got an aside here to his friend. His friend isn't integral to the story. It's more... Well, anyway, you'll see. Cut to Conor in line at the post office. Connie from work gets in line behind him. They chat a bit when he asks her out for dinner. She's unsure at first, but then says yes. What I appreciated about this movie is how direct and to the point Conor was. There wasn't a lot of... honestly, I felt like he asked her out on a date too soon. But I appreciated that as opposed to them dancing around each other for 14 days and then going on a date. So yeah, he asks her out. She agrees. Cut to them at a Christmas market or a Thanksgiving market. Anyway, they make small talk, picking out their favorite displays. Conor, actually, hold on. This doesn't make any sense now that I'm thinking about it. This movie takes place entirely before Thanksgiving. And we know that it's probably 3.5 weeks or so before Thanksgiving. And they are out, without a doubt, a holiday-themed market where they will have Christmas-themed displays. That's weird. Anyway, his favorite display is the one featuring the abominable snowman. I presume he means from the Rudolph special, but I don't know. We do not see what he's talking about. Instead, she points out her favorite is a nativity scene that's there. She talks about how much time it took to set it up and mentions her favorite characters, for lack of a better term. Her favorite characters are the wise men. He'd like to hear more about the story of the wise men. Would she show him about them sometime? And he used the word show. Would you show me more about them sometime? And she said yes, of course. We get a montage of them enjoying stuff at the market. Eventually it turns to night and Santa shows up and it starts snowing. All of this is in montage form. Now back to the office with the big boss man where everyone updates their progress on things. For example, one guy's trying to curry coverage from the local press. Conor daydreams while looking out the window. He sees the homeless man he helped earlier who waves to him. Conor waves back. But now it's time for Conor to update everybody. He says he has an idea where he can get old radio station friends to get business contacts to work up a program where folks can get discounts at their businesses, and then somehow the proceeds will lead to donations. It doesn't really make sense, and the boss also isn't interested. Now over to the high school where the school play team talk over their stage directions. This whole subplot with the daughter and her job as a stage manager has exactly zero bearing on the rest of the movie. It could be from a different movie. Anyway, Jamie does a great job. Everyone claps for her. Back to the office, Philip the Jerk meets with the big boss man in his office. He pleads to replace Conor in his job. The boss man won't make the change, though. Even with the turkey truck mostly empty, he's trusting God to fill it. Or God and Conor. He says, well, who you're actually trusting is a burned-out radio announcer. Yet the boss still won't make the change. We get a sign reading 19 days until Thanksgiving. Cut to Conor meeting with his sick friend. They talk about Conor's new job and how hard it's been. He still needs about 3,200 turkeys. His friend says, "You need a plan of action." Conor says, "No, what I need is a miracle." His friend says, "Don't we all?" That's when he says his cancer is back and spreading fast. And I thought, what happened earlier when you were in the hospital? Because you implied that things weren't looking good then. But now they're acting like you're revealing it to Conor now. Conor is very sad. He flashes back to a time with his wife when she was suffering from cancer. They have a nice time together, but then his wife talks about a Bible study class that she's been taking. She asks Conor if he knows where he'd go if he was dying. Conor isn't sure. Back to the present, his friend says he's letting go. No more treatments, no more surgery. Conor is pissed at his buddy. His friend was encouraging him not to quit his job, but now you're quitting fighting cancer? His friend says, "Look, it's okay. I know where I'm going. Do you?" And this is obviously, you can tell, a repeated refrain in this movie about people accepting their fate, or what they presume their fate will be, because they know where they're going. Conor says, "I'm going to Turkey Town." We get a quick scene where Jamie talks to the play director. He says she's doing a great job. She mentions her dad's new job and getting the turkeys, and boy, the line she has at this moment is a mouthful, so much so that I've clipped it and have it for you here.
Wow, Jamie, you are really going above and beyond the call of duty. But you should be home with your family.
It's okay. My dad has this new job at House of Hope. He's going to be real busy until Thanksgiving. He's in charge of handing out turkeys to disadvantaged families, and he's worried he won't make his goal. My sister's going to pick me up in like 20 minutes, and besides, I really like this behind-the-scenes stuff.
It just seems really uncomfortable for her to get that out. Like, she tried really hard, and she did an admirable job. But honestly, I know, she just make it easier for her to say. Make it more human, please. We see Conor and Connie talking about the turkey progress. It's not going well. Connie urges him to keep praying for his miracle. He says that seems to be all he can do now. Cut to him driving. He checks his phone and notices his battery is low. Then the car in front of him isn't going when it's a green light. We see it's a woman listening to organ music, and she's not paying attention. Conor gets frustrated. Instead of honking, though, he just rolls down his window and starts shouting, "The light's green!" So again, picture this. He's in his car. He realizes his phone battery is low, so he's a bit distracted. Then he looks up, and instead of plugging in his phone, he should have a cord. All responsible phone owners have a cord for their car. Instead of plugging in his phone, he notices the woman's not going when it's a green light. He has a horn built into his car. He does not use that horn. Instead, he rolls down the window next to his head and then shouts at her from a car and a half away to say that the light is green. This makes no sense. Then Conor starts having what seems to be a panic attack. He looks in his side view mirror and thinks he sees the homeless man he helped earlier. The homeless man points to the light. Conor looks forward to see the woman is now gone. But then when he looks back, the homeless man is also now gone. Eventually, he gets home and is greeted by his daughters and finds out his friend passed away. He calls his friend's wife, who recounts his last moments. He says he just got tired and laid down. He then called his family into his bedroom and asked his family to sing a hymn to him. He then closed his eyes and fell asleep. Conor asked, "Wait, when did he pass away?" It was 4:29. And this is significant because that's what time he noticed on the clock in his car when he was having his panic attack. He tells his daughters it's like his friend stopped by on the way to heaven. And so maybe it wasn't supposed to be a panic attack. Maybe it was supposed to be something else. Like he was feeling an ethereal, supernatural touch to his heart, to his soul. But he gave evidence like he was just freaking out. And I got that. That made sense to me because he has a lot piled on his shoulders. He has, apparently his best friend is going to pass away at any moment. He has 2 daughters that are relying on him to keep a job that he does not like, and a job that looks like it's trying to get rid of him by giving him a task that's so monumental it seems impossible to fulfill. I get why he would have a panic attack. So maybe they could have adjusted how he reacted in that moment to convey more of whatever this is supposed to be. Anyway, he tells his daughter, yeah, it's like his friend stopped by on the way to heaven. Now over to another group meeting at work. Conor is asked how the turkey deal is going, and it's not going well. He tries to explain that he was busy with his friend's death, but his boss is too fed up. He never got the words out, "My best friend has passed away." He never said that. It's also not evidenced in the movie. Like, we don't see evidence that he was spending a lot of time dealing with this. It would have been nice if they had shown like somebody trying to call him from work and him not being able to answer because he's too grief-stricken. That would have made a lot more sense. But instead, we got what we got. His boss is fed up with Conor's excuses. Conor isn't sure what he's going to do. Cut to a montage of him meeting with businesses to help out with the turkey donations. We see him even dressed up as a turkey at one point, asking for donations. Then we get a note. Then we see the sign in the office letting everybody know it's 9 days before Thanksgiving. The boss is pissed and asks for Philip the Jerk to join him in his office. Conor is very sad. We cut to Philip the Jerk and the boss in the office. He tells Philip that if Conor fails, and not before he fails, Philip can have his job. Philip is very excited about this. What this basically means is he gives Conor until Thanksgiving before he pulls him from this responsibility, which seems to be a little bit late, but at the same time, what else? I don't know what else he's going to do. He could just fire this guy who's ostensibly failing at his job at every step. Could anybody else do better? I don't know, but this guy is doing terribly. Cut to Conor at a service of some sort. It's a church service. He hears the church feeds the needy families and gets an idea. Cut to him asking Connie if she'd like to volunteer with him at that church to serve needy families. She'd love to. Cut to Conor being interviewed by the local news. Cut to his family watching this story on the TV. Connie is there with him. It's very adorable. Cut to Connie and Conor helping distribute food at a shelter. This causes him to have a flashback to his wife's last Thanksgiving. Back to the present, Conor and Connie and Jesus, why did they do this with these names? Basically, it's post them giving out food at the shelter. And it's them just chatting about, for whatever reason, they're given instructions by the guy running the food service to say, no, go ahead and mingle and talk to people. So they do. They talk to a family that's there. The family's going through a very hard time. And so after learning about their plight, he gives them the ornament that he had since that mysterious Christmas party that didn't exist. So he gives them the ornament. And that's the whole subplot of the ornament. We don't know what it means. We don't know if it helps them at all. We know nothing about the ornament other than it appeared from a party that didn't exist, and he's given it to this family that needs something. Now we join Conor at home pulling out decorations with one of his daughters. We learn Conor got married to her mom just before Thanksgiving, so I guess that makes Thanksgiving a particularly hard holiday for him. Conor gets a phone call. A guy named Norman Gunther from Gunther Farms heard about Conor's problem, would like to donate 2,000 birds. Conor says, oh, and we immediately cut to Conor at the last school play of the season. He's there to support his daughter, Jamie. Jamie does such a good job that all of the play members, the drama club members, whatever they are, they give her an award for all of her efforts because she is the best stage manager ever. Everyone claps. Cut to Conor hosting a cast party at his house. He and Connie sit outside and chat. He talks about how he's failing with the turkeys, and Connie says not to give up hope. There is no talk about the 2,000 birds that were just confirmed to be given to him. None whatsoever. And I thought that this made me feel like this scene was cut out of order because he should be riding high. They needed 3,200. They just got 2,000, and he should be feeling like, man, we are doing great. But instead, he's still down in the dumps as if that hasn't happened. Connie talks about how Jesus performed miracles and how that might lead to some kind of a miracle being performed for Conor. Then we see Conor and Connie cleaning up after the party. He tells Connie how much he likes having her around, and she says she likes it too. Basically, it's them agreeing to start going steady, I guess. Cut to the Gunther Farms bird delivery. Notice how I've said bird instead of turkey. That's right, because they're agreeing to donate chickens. And Conor didn't realize this. And I guess Gunther Farms was like, well, if they need turkeys, chickens might work because it's still free food. And yes, it's not ideal, but they currently have not enough, and this would help them have close to enough. Regardless, Conor's like, take them back. They're not good enough. That's not how he worded it, but that is how he acted. We jump ahead to the team that Conor is working with, accepting donations at the turkey truck. They have more, but still not enough. Not enough for everyone. Everyone except for Philip the Jerk and the boss feel bad for Conor. He starts to feel bad for himself. He couldn't hold a job as a DJ, and he's going to lose this job too. As he thinks to himself, one of his co-workers notices the homeless man who Conor helped earlier. The man does a praying motion to Conor's co-worker. The co-worker then suggests to Conor that they pray. Conor thinks he's joking, but he is not. They should ask God to provide the turkeys. Conor says, I'll try anything. The man tells him to say what's on his heart. And he says, God, this is Conor McCloud. I'm a DJ. Well, I used to be. And now I'm working here at the House of Hope, and we're in desperate need of some turkeys here. And if you could forget about all the stupid things I've done and help, amen. His coworker gives him a more concise prayer that he could use. We jump to seeing all of the other characters in different parts of the movie, different parts of the world praying. The next day, Conor arrives at work with his daughter, seeing people pack up the various food items, not the turkeys, the rest of the food items. It's time to open up the turkey truck, and when they do, it looks exactly as how they left it. There are not enough turkeys in this turkey truck to be given away. There's a football team, I'm guessing a local high school football team, that's helping distribute the turkeys. And they're just kind of like, some of them are in the truck, some of them are outside of the truck. They're handing them one to another as they disseminate them. Conor is very sad that this is going to fail. And guess who's keeping track of these fucking turkeys? That's right, Philip the Jerk is. He has a counter in his hand, a little chick counter, that type of counter. And he's counting all the turkeys that are coming off. But before you know it, he's up to 2,200 turkeys. And the truck, it's not any emptier. Then Philip gets up to over 4,000 turkeys, and the truck still has turkeys in it. Conor is stunned. He walks up to the back of the truck and stares. Philip says, it looks like you got your miracle. Philip the Jerk, that is. Everyone prays suddenly. The homeless guy watches from afar. Everyone goes into the office, and Conor and Connie kiss. The homeless guy walks away with a big smile on his face. The end. So, again, just to set the stage, there is this big box truck which is filled about halfway with turkeys. And they're unloading the turkeys, and they never stop being able to unload them. And everybody's confused that's doing this. They're all mystified. Eventually they have more than enough turkeys, and they just stop, and then everyone prays. And then Conor and Connie kiss. Now remember, this is based on a true story. So this has to have happened, right? It's based on a true story. So I did some research. This movie was written by two gentlemen, and it was directed by the guy that played Conor McCloud. So the two guys that wrote the movie, they say it's based on a true story. But here's what it's actually based on. One guy lost his wife to cancer. The other guy lost his job as a DJ, then got his job at a shelter where he had to help provide 4,000 turkeys. The end. That's what this is based on. Not the miracle of turkeys that never ended. That's what it's actually based on. And I thought, well, that's pretty shitty. Because you say it's based on a true story, but nothing metaphysical or supernatural or beyond the norm happened in the true story part of it. You took all of that and wrapped it up in this lip gloss of trying to act like, oh, wow, do you know how like this magical thing really happened? Because if I'm a person who wants to watch this movie because it affirms my faith, it makes me feel good, however, whatever reason you might want to watch this movie, you're probably going to want to watch it with an eye towards it really happened, and it'll make me feel good about what it is that I believe in and what I want to be true, because we all want there to be good things in the world. In some cases, we want there to be supernatural things in the world, things beyond our normal means. And so if I watch this movie, that's what I want to be true. Instead, no, that part's fiction, or at least not based on reality. Here's an excerpt from a story. Both Steve and Jorn's life is reflected in the film. Jorn went through a loss when he lost his wife and eventually remarried, and that storyline is in there. And then the turkey situation all comes from Steve's storyline. He was a DJ and he lost his job. He had to find another job, and he got a job working at a homeless shelter, and he had to find 4,000 turkeys for Thanksgiving for 4,000 families. That whole process was exactly what happened to him, and he struggled to find the turkeys in that losing battle. Go fuck yourselves, the writers of this movie, and go fuck yourself, anybody who purports it to be based on a true story. That really bothered me. Feel like you're taking advantage of people's. Anyway, that was the Great Turkey Day Miracle. It was fine. It was an easy watch. It was stupid at parts. There are parts that didn't really make any sense, but not more so than any other movie that I watched. So it was fine. It was fine. If this sounds like the kind of movie you'd want to watch, I don't know why. 2, you'll be fine. You'll be fine with the Great Turkey Day Miracle. Who's the MVP of this movie? Well, it has to be Jamie. She was the best stage manager ever. And so she's definitely the best character in this motion picture. Thanks, Jamie. You're the best. So that's it with episode 33. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you have a good day. And until next time, just watch some more Christmas movies. That's what I'll do. Goodbye.